Hey all, boardgamerants here, where you'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. Assault on Doomrock, kind of a tongue-in-cheek fantasy adventure game. We're going to have a quick look at it from a solo perspective, and I will let you know on the other side of this little description what I think about it. Alright, Assault on Doomrock. Up here I've got some leftover stuff after I've set up. You know, it's the leftover stuff here. Here's some enemies. We got the level 1, level 2, level 3, I guess is one way you can think about it. Enemies. And then in this adventure game, your party is going to be represented by a token. You're going to start off with 3 locations that you can check out. This is going to be kind of randomized here, but I got a thick forest, mage's tower, mushroom hills. They each come with a certain amount of secrets that you can explore. If you explore all those secrets, sometimes you get a bonus like some silver. And there's all sorts of stuff on here in each location that you can do. And, you know, do some shopping here. Or, you know, over here you can do some looting. You can get some heroism, which adds to your, well, just it's a boost. It's a good thing. Camping allows you to essentially level up and get some of your HP back. And there's a bunch of different things you can do in these, but there's always going to be kind of 3 available locations to you, and then you can venture forth into, you know, there's a whole stack here of locations that you, by the end of the game, you need to get all the way down through the stack down to Doomrock to have a chance to go after the big bad guy at the end, which is the level 3 encounter. There's going to be 3 encounters. So essentially we'll have an adventure phase and then encounter 1. Another adventure phase and then encounter 2. And another adventure phase where hopefully you've made it through the stack. And you go after the big bad guy, encounter 3. And if you beat that bad guy at the end, you win the game, which I have yet to do yet. So, tough game. Anyway, this is, the adventure phase is a pretty peaceful phase. And it just has you kind of moving around. And then sometimes if you venture forth to a new unknown area, you slide this left one off and you bring this one on and kind of slide everything over. The biggest cost here you'll be spending, which is meaningful, is time. And so based on the setting deck, you'll flip over a card for this particular adventure phase. And you've got a certain amount of time to work through. And once you're out of time, then basically then you're going to have to fight the boss for that particular encounter. And that might be in encounter 1, a zombie horde, maybe some exploding tomatoes, perhaps beasts of doom. And then eventually, if you get to encounter 2, it'll be these guys, and then these are the big bad guys. And during your adventure phase, you're gonna be, you know, finding stuff. Of course, what good fantasy adventure wouldn't have stuff to find and equip? Got some common items here, epic items here. There's really only 2 types of places, as you'll notice here. It says mountains or wilderness, town or wilderness. So it's either going to be wilderness or mountains that you're in. Towns have a little bit of a lot of times you can do shopping and stuff there. But so you've got an event deck here. And these serve 2 purposes. One, if, you know, the nicer one is when you're adventuring and you might be able to roll for some loot here. The other not so nice one is if you have to flip it over and you have to deal with this here thing. Why can't I remember what that's called? It's a bad thing. It is not doom. Anyway, that peril. That's what it is, and that can do bad stuff to you. So, and then over here we have an ability deck. This will help your characters level up. Speaking of which, so the characters, when you're playing solo, you have to play with at least 2 characters. So here we are, and the characters are fun. They kind of, you're gonna get, you can pick randomly. You know, a ranger, for instance, which you find in a very typical adventure game, and a rogue. But then you have to pick a random trait, and in this case, the rogue I randomly drew an overly heroic rogue. So now the rogue starts off with 3 abilities of their kind that matches their symbol there. But then if you're overly heroic, you also start with the boast ability. So each character that you play starts off with 4 abilities, and those abilities can be activated by rolling certain dice. And really, you only deal with these when you're doing the battle part. So there's an adventure phase, which I just talked about, and then there's sort of a battle phase where you have to go against the encounter. And that's when you'll use these abilities, basically, to do damage and stuff. and you'll be rolling dice to figure that, what you can do for the round. So over here, the ranger, I drew a sadistic ranger. So a little comic relief here with these some of these abilities and a little tongue-in-cheek stuff. Pretty fun. Comes with a disturbing smile, if you're sadistic. So there's that disturbing smile. And you've got the 3 abilities available here to start off with the ranger. And then if you ever level up your characters, you're going to be able to draw from actually you'll draw 3 and you'll pick 1 basically, and then you would add it, and then you get yourself another die that you'll be able to roll during the battle phase, which is really key. You want to have lots of abilities and lots of dice to be able to roll. At least that's my experience. I've been able to get furthest in the game when I've really focused on leveling up my guys. Of course, you can do all the other cool stuff too, getting items, an artifact here, an armor, something in your left hand, something in your right hand. There you go. You got your health. And so once you've run out of time and you have to go up against the encounter, you'll flip this over, you'll find out what you're going up against, and let's say we have to go up against a zombie horde. So you grab the little zombie deck. This is going to run the AI for the zombies. And then you've got your little tokens here, and these represent where did the one? Oh, there it is. Oh. These represent your characters, and so yeah, no standees, and there's no board either. You can just basically just right there. You can just throw a battle out, just about that easy. And then you'll have your enemies are going to be represented by these discs. Your basic enemies are going to be, and then the number of tokens represents their health. So, and if a token's on this side, they've got 2 health. Once it's flipped over, they've got 1, and then you remove it if you've just got a 1 token enemy, it has 2 health. Or this one has only 1 health. And once you hit it for its last health, it's gone. You kill it. And then your tokens, though, you've got your health here on your card, though, and you each got 6 health. So if you lose all your health, you die, you lose the game, but you're trying to kill all these enemies, and as you can imagine, a zombie horde is probably going to have a lot of enemies. So, so yeah, it's a little bit abstract there. So, and then if you have a big boss, the big boss is going to have this little symbol on there as well. So, and then, a lot of times there's a big stack, the bosses have a lot of health there. And then there's a lot of it takes a little getting used to, but essentially because there's no grid or no line of sight or kind of thing, it's all represented by simply being, in a group or not, or in a group with adjacent things or not. And that's about it. And so you'll be kind of moving together, or, you'll get attacked, or you'll get, swarmed, or then you get pushed, and then, so there's a lot of this sort of blah, 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 blah. And, and if you're adjacent to something, you can hit it with a melee attack. If some abilities only allow you to do ranged stuff, like here, it says attack, deal 2 damage to a distant character. So a distant character is one that you are not adjacent to, right? So there's kind of some stuff that takes some getting used to here. If ever you're adjacent to 2 other enemies, and it's just by yourself, well, now you're surrounded. So now you can't use this. May not be used when surrounded, because there's, there's 2 times you, basically. So anyway, so there's some things that you keep in mind, but it's sort of this weird tactical thing, and it's kind of cool because you can kind of keep a pretty tight little battlefield, but yeah, so that's kind of how battles work, and you're just moving your characters, and enemies are coming in and attacking you based on what they draw there. And every turn what you'll do is you'll roll your dice, and then you got to see what you can activate. So you're going to be rolling and be like, okay, I got a 3, good, I can move. Oh, I got a 6, awesome, I can do a ranged strike. And then this ones you can always convert into shield. So yeah, now I can take a hit and it won't get through and hurt my hit points. 6s can always be converted into these little boost tokens, which a lot of times you spend a boost token allows you to do a little bit more damage. And so each of your characters will roll their dice, and you get some re-rolls. You get at least 2 re-rolls. So like if you really don't like what you got, then you can re-roll as many or as few as you want, up to 2 times. And then you just basically use those dice to activate. 5 is pretty useless here for the rogue, so definitely want re-roll those. But here, this 6 could be used to do a poisonous stab. And this 1 I could turn into a shield, stuff like that. So once you've rolled your dice, then essentially the enemies activate, then you get to go. And then if there's a big boss, they get to go. Oh, wait. Well, no, I lied. So you roll your dice, then the enemies both get to go, and then finally you get to go. Sometimes you'll have an ability that gives you an initiative. These little lightning things allow you to basically act with this particular ability before they get to go. But basically that's it. And then around and around you go. You roll the dice, they activate, you activate, roll the dice until they're dead or you're dead. And then you go on to the next adventure phase, and then you get a different encounter or setting, I should say, and you go through until you get to second, and then you keep going until you get to third. And if you survive all of that and kill the big bad boss at the end of the third encounter, you win. At least in my experience, you don't make it that far most of the time. You don't even make it to the third encounter. But hopefully that gives you a decent idea what you're looking at here with Assault on Doomrock. So this is bottom line is I like the game. It's not going to be a favorite fantasy adventure of mine, I guess, for a long time coming, but I played it 7-8 times now. I've gotten my ass handed to me every single time, and in fact I think I've only made it to the third boss, the third encounter, 2 times. I've died a number of times on the first encounter. This game is for those of you who don't care for dice rolling, where you unless you've got a lot of mitigation. There's not a lot of mitigation here. You get what you get, and sometimes you're gonna roll these dice and you're not going to be able to attack a thing, and you're just going to get bludgeoned to death. It's just a bad round. So, and at first this got me. I was like, this ruins the game. That sucks, and it still does suck. But the game kind of plays out consistently, like just this sort of. If you can just take it all in stride and kind of get into the sense of the humor that I believe the designer was sort of trying to put in there, with just there's just some cool quirky stuff that almost lightens it up, and it makes it so that you don't get so pissed off when you roll badly. And the game plays quick enough once you get the hang of it, that if you die in the first round or 2, second round, it's not a wickedly difficult reset, and doesn't take a bunch of time. And if you get all the way to the third encounter and you're battling, and then you die, you got a good 90-minute plus game. After the first, if you got all the way to the third encounter on your first try, you're probably in it 2.5 hours or something. But it really starts to clip along because the adventure phase part is very quick. You're just bouncing around. You're trying to get stuff, shop, level up. Do some looting, stuff like that. It's pretty quick, and it goes by fast. And then boom, you're in your first encounter, and then. The first guy is usually pretty easy now, and the focus again is leveling up and getting your character strong. You just want more dice to roll, so that's your mitigation, just having more dice to roll. Forget all the, at least, I don't know. Like I said, I've only played 7 or 8 times, but I quickly kind of figured that my best bet is if I get some items, great. I need to level up. I need to get money to level up. And to level up, you have to have, I don't even remember if I mentioned in the video, you have to spend as much money in silver as the abilities you have. So you've got to get money to level up. And that's and if you can do that, you can do much better in the battles. So again, I guess setup and teardown is not too difficult. And it has a nice presence on the board. It really takes up a fairly small amount of space in general. And I love the artwork. I love the look. It looks like a little adventure, and easy to get into with the artwork and just the names of things and how the quick little story inserts are in there. So pretty easy, relatively speaking, to set up. It probably takes 10-15 minutes to set up the first time, but then 5-10 minutes to kind of reset once you're up and running. And again, the length of play when you first start is going to be much. The first couple games, and then you're going to have to go to the FAQ on BGG, which kind of drives me crazy. Whenever I see second edition stuff, I just would hope that most of these kinks would be worked out. But I think there was maybe some language barriers. I'm not too sure, but it wasn't that difficult. Once I went to the FAQ and I got some things down that just seemed a little weird, then you just get right after it. And it actually is I can imagine putting this away and coming back 7-8 months later and relearning it pretty darn quick, because it's just kind of, yeah, I think it'd be a pretty quick relearn there. The components are, I mean, it's a $50 game. And another thing is that I noticed, it's kind of, you open up this box, good sized box, and you realize once you've got everything punched out and stuff, it could fit into at least half the size of the box it's in, which is always, whatever. But for $50, the dice and just, I don't know, it just looks good. So the little round tokeny things that represent the enemies, and just seems like a kind of a chintzy thing, because I can so easily compare this to chip theory games. If you've ever played, Too Many Bones or Hoplomachus or Cloudspire or any of these, that's they kind of steal the show where it comes to this idea of using a little chip for your health and whatever. And this seems like just such a watered down version of that it was kind of hard to get over the lack of component quality there. But and the way the battles go, as I kind of described, it's a little abstract, and it took a little getting used to, because it's really nothing like any other, I don't know, normal adventure game, RPG game, where you've got a map and you've got movement rules and you've got line of sight stuff and obstacles and stuff. This just doesn't have any of that. And it just takes a couple games to really, like, and I gotta say, it works pretty well. Once you figure it out, but it didn't come intuitively to me at all. And I played so many adventure games, and so, but once you get it, it works pretty well. And I didn't mind it. I actually kind of looked forward to it a little bit, because it's just so different. But the theme is, I think it's all there. It's fun too. That sort of comic relief thing that got going for it. A little tongue in cheek, little sadistic ranger or whatever. There's all sorts. I should have showed some more traits. I can't even remember them off the top of my head, but it's just kind of fun. And it's cool the way you basically randomly pick a character and randomly pick a trait, and you come up with some pretty fun little combinations there. And kind of reminds me of Small World a little bit there. The rule book, yeah, I wasn't. The rule book is again, I was just not impressed with the way the rules were laid out, given it's a second edition, and there was all these questions a few years ago about stuff, because it's an older game. I think it's like a 5 or 6 year old game, if I recall. And just all this time to come up with the second edition, which far more clarifying rule book, and it was still a lot of the same questions. So, but the rule book is appealing. It's very colorful. I like the way it's laid out and the way it looks, and it's just a fun read, I guess, going through it. And I don't know about fun, but it certainly just had enough. It's just the look of it was almost makes you want to read the thing. I don't know how the way to explain it, but the mechanics are, yeah, the adventure phase part of the mechanics, very straightforward. Very, I've experienced that before, and it was just very easy to learn that. That was very intuitive. Once I got that down, it's like, boom, let's just do this adventure. And I like the adventures. It's certainly just such a different feel. There's like the adventure phase and then the battle phase. Very different feel. And adventure is so light and fluffy. Very few things bad happen. But then you get in the battle phase and you're going to die, probably, a lot of times. Anyway, but you might not. If you've leveled up your characters, you could be in good shape. But the mechanics, though, I feel like they worked well together. And for what this game, it's almost, the game kind of is in its own genre of fantasy adventure. It's set apart, especially with the whole battle feature. Kind of puts it in a category that I can't really put it in any other adventure games that I've played, any other RPG games. So anyway, it has that going for it. At least it's got some novelty there. Strategy, yeah. I don't know that strategy plays a big part in this game, other than leveling up your characters so you have a chance of getting to the third encounter. But then, you know, both times that I got to the third encounter, I got smashed. I mean, like in the second round, just smashed. And so, yeah, strategy is, I feel like you just need to be more into this just for a good romp, fantasy adventure, some funness. To just plan on getting destroyed is more the way to look at this game than as some big strategic adventure. It didn't come across to me like that at all. So, but from a solo standpoint, I really enjoyed the game. I know I can play with more characters. I know when you play with more characters, there's some features there that would open up. You'd have different, like the AI cards for the enemies do different things if you've got more players, and some other stuff there. But so you can play, you know, you play 2 at least, but you can play 3 or 4 characters. I thought the solo, you know, it works very well solo. And at the difficulty level, it gives you a way in the rule book to up the difficulty. Whatever. I find that's funny. So that was probably the funniest part of this whole game. Anyway, replayability though is, you know, there's not a whole bunch of enemies. There's not a whole bunch of encounters and different things. So I feel like you see everything pretty quick. But, you know, it's still just fun. It's just fun. It leaves me feeling after I'm done, even though I got destroyed or something, I still feel like I had a lot of fun. And so, you know, on that basis and for $50, I'd say the game's worth it. No, I sure have enjoyed it and probably play it some more here in the near future. Anyway, that is Assault on Doomrock. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns down below. Until next time, I am boardgamerants. I appreciate you watching, and I'm out.